Why, hello there, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. My name is Mr. Dogbell333, and welcome back to Hearts of Iron 4, the New Order, the real one, as the United Kingdom. Now, in the last video, we passed the Freedom of Security Act. I think that's what you call it. Whichever act we just passed. We got it passed seemingly pretty easily, but the question is that going to be enough to end things off on? It's going to be hard to say, but get some time to figure it out. So let's go ahead and get started with another year of routine. The Second World War left Britain a charred husk of what it once was. A mighty empire spanning a quarter of a globe had been reduced to the Isles alone. Indeed, the woes of Reconstruction, economic failure, internal division, and seemingly endless resistance has made the BPP's vision of creating a modern fascist Britain a titanic effort, with much more struggle doubtlessly to come. As 1962 dawns, it seems that we are set for much of the same. However, perhaps there's a light at the end of the tunnel. The passage of the FSA will surely put an end to one of the woes and resistance, at least. Perhaps this year will be different. Maybe. I'm trying to remember. Rodney Sterling checked his watch yet again. He arrived at the exact time and place specified, 3 o'clock, silver and black bench near the Tower of London. Alone. Only due him to be timely, given the man he was due to be meeting. However, it had been 10 minutes, and the man had still not yet showed up. But just as Sterling was beginning to wonder if he had misread the briefs, the man sat down next to him. Wonderful weather, isn't it? He asked the man, knowing full well who it was. Isles, nah, bro, you're down to Isle singular. The 6 counties have been liberated. True. Recognizing code words, you responded kind. I'm not so sure. It looks like rain. Satisfied the protocol had been followed, Sterling turned to face none other than the spy master himself, Maxwell Knight. Apologies for the wait, Sterling. You can never be too sure who'll get their hands on the reports. I'm sure that you understand. Knight said, a polite smile on his face. Sterling rolled his eyes. Knight always had a way of making others accept his many quirks like this. Yes, well, I can hardly blame you. The resistance seems to be planting its people where one least expects it. Nowadays, Knight raised an eyebrow quizzically. I wouldn't say that. They can't be everywhere at once. It was hard not to be pessimistic over the state of resistance nowadays. They were growing bolder and bolder, and the government seemed to be doing less to contain them. A moment passed as silence spoke for him. Knight adjusted himself on the bench and turned, looking Sterling down the eye. Sterling, we're closer than ever before. I'm giving you my personal guarantee that resistance are nowhere near as powerful as you believe, and that we will get them. Understood? Despite his misgivings, Sterling thought the knight's words had gotten through to him. The resistance will fall, eventually, especially with Maxwell Knight on the case. He nodded. Understood. England's enemies shall have no mercy. We're getting an okay amount of political power a day. We have nothing that we can use it on yet, but... Oh. Here's the old event chain. Emma would always miss school in an odd way. Her parents had said that they would be the best years of her life all the time, and after graduating, she couldn't help but ruminate on those words. There were bits of it that she'd always detest, of course. She cringed internally, remembering how Mr. Donahue would drone on and on about how all of history was a precursor to inevitable German dominance. Were teachers paid more by the government to glorify the past? The girl's reverie was interrupted by a pair of arms gently wrapping around her neck. How's adulthood treating you, Miss Newly Graduated? She smirked, turning around to see none other than Elizabeth. Emma remembered the day they met. It was back in her 3rd year. She'd been paired up with a pretty blonde girl she'd been too shy to talk to. They got chatting, and the rest was history. Soft touches exchanged when nobody could see. Moments shared behind the bike shed in the middle of the night. It had to be a secret. She did not want to see herself or her love in prison. Oh, it's going splendidly, dear. Yourself? She replied coyly. Elizabeth giggled, and her heart melted. All the better with you. They fell upon Elizabeth's bed, holding each other. They talked for what felt like hours, reflecting on what adulthood would hold, on what their future would hold. Oh shit, did lesbians get reworked? I think they did, yeah. Yeah, didn't they used to be in school? I remember now. Yeah. I've been speaking to old Bill a lot lately. The man at the bar? Emma said, cradling Elizabeth said. Oh, whatever for? He's not happy with the government. Who is this days? Emma rolled her eyes. That's what he thinks. And it turns out that he has some other friends who also aren't happy with him. Elizabeth's eyes widened and she sat up. You don't mean... Emma nodded. The other girl gasped softly. I said that you and I could possibly meet up with him soon. See what it's like. A beat passed. Then Elizabeth nodded. All right, then. Love can always bloom, no matter how forbidden. Yeah, they reworked this. Go figure. Everything's being reworked. Age had really worn down the old Domville. It had been easy before, surrender for Germans, save the children of Britain. And now he was here, constantly trying to fix what felt like a leaking ship. He could swear the end was in sight, but he could not know how close it was. The people were beginning to accept him. Perhaps history would look back on him as a hero. For now, though, he could only look up upon his party. Butler seemed to be more active than ever lately. It felt like he couldn't avoid him as he continued to nudge his way in. An ambitious snake, surely. Donville could understand the look in his eyes too well. He aimed to replace him once he stepped down. Seemed like not even a decade under the New Order could not wipe out careerism from this blasted country. Still, he couldn't deny that Butler did good work. Yet, he looked back upon others. Butler was a naked careerist, but if there was anyone who understood the necessity of strength within Britain, it would be Fontaine. The man has always fought for the fascist cause, in Spain and here. He was one of the first men to join him, but the men he surrounded himself with, he could hear how they talked when his back was turned. They considered him weak, he could tell, but they never voiced their ire towards him, no. They kept it quiet. Side glances, insinuations, the occasional muttered comment. To be young again. Perhaps he could straighten out things. Today, however, he could barely stand to watch a silent war play out in front of him. So he pretended not to notice. Keep calm and carry on. Eventually, it will resolve itself. But now the party is split. I'm guessing it didn't work itself out. It's common saying amongst many in the government that trying to work with the PPP is akin to herding cats. This statement is incorrect. A more accurate comparison would be trying to tame a mythical hydra. Years upon years of internal conflict have reached a boiling point. Now Fontaine's ideologues, Butler's pragmatists, and even some of our own in the old guard are practically slavering at the mouths. Excuse me. Slavering at the mouths of the idea of tearing themselves apart. As each day passes by, it seems more and more inevitable that one wing of the party will dominate the other. It only remains to be seen who will come out on top. I need to take some water. Yeah, excuse me, I apologize for that. God damn it. I'm sorry, I'm having an episode. I don't know what this is. Alright, am I good? I think I'm good. For we're all jolly good fellows. For we're all jolly good... I can't... God damn it. For we're all jolly good fellows. And so say all of us. And so say all of us. And so say all of us. The raucous coalition of youth sang away, stomping around the local pub. Half of the regulars had been driven off by this display, while the other half had joined in, merrily clapping with their hands in tune. The barman could only look at them with a wary smile. He knew that these lads had just finished school and were celebrating like only young men could. One of them assembled to the bar, a couple loose coins in hand. The barman grinned, recognized the boy. Hey, Ben. How you handling being grown-up man now, huh? The boy was a slender, dark-haired youth, his cheeks rosy due to the alcohol. He cracked a smile at the old man. Yeah. Doing wonderful, mate, yeah. Had a great time tonight. Got my mates, you know how it is. Another pint, please. The barman chuckled, moving to make another drink for Ben. Do you have any plans for what you want to do? Maybe work in the factory like your dad? I know he'd be proud of you. I mean, your uncle. This comment appeared to give the youth pause. Not quite sure of it yet, honestly, he answered, staring vacantly. Shaking himself out of it, he paid the barman and went off to rejoin his friends. The barman smiled again. They grow up so fast. We're getting a lot of events, Jesus. Martin Jordan had an easy time in the civil service so far. Uncle Jerry had gotten him a job there, and it was frankly light work. He had been called into a meeting room along with 3 other newer members. A funny-looking man with a thin white mustache sat at the head of a table, which itself was occupied with several other older men. Martin recognized the man as none other than Harold Wilson. He nearly frowned upon seeing the man. Many in the family spoke of how he was far too left-wing despite being so high up in the BPP. Wilson smiled at them. Fresh blood, I see. Come in, please sit. We were just about to start. Martin nodded, assuming that Wilson would be handing the stage over to one of the other civil servants so that they could share the meeting. But what happened next shocked him. All right, gentlemen, let's get started. It's been a couple of months for everyone here, and we'll only get hotter with the workers getting agitated. However, we cannot stand to let standards slip and fall behind. I believe you had a plan, Colin? Martin blinked. He and the other civil servants in the room had only just sat down, yet Wilson seemed to have taken the executive position to chair the meeting. The junior civil servant almost scoffed. The other men in the room were several times his senior. Surely they would soon remind him of his place. Instead, he was shocked as a man Wilson addressed, nodded his head respectfully, going into detail. He was shocked. Wilson was able to simply get away with this? How? Martin's shock only worsened as Wilson asked for a copy of the Fisher report, something Martin knew was above his station. And yet, another of the men whipped out a copy and gave it to him. The entire meeting, he moved them around like puppets. By the time it ended, Martin was almost as catatonic as Wilson opened the door, and they all followed behind him. They danced to a tune, it seems. Huh. Interesting. I don't know if he ever got... I don't know. I don't know enough about Harold Wilson to talk about his portrayal. I mean, him being a socialist leader, like hardcore socialist, I know didn't make much sense, but I don't know about if this does either. The Rising Star. The light clink of glasses could be heard amongst quiet multilingual discussion. The entire half of North London restaurants have been brought out for the night for a soiree for the cream of the British crop to mix and mingle. German corporate executives flighted from table to table. A collection of dull gray men in expensive suits were only given the fanciest rosé blush of their life by the expensive champagne. Amongst these pencil pushers, con men, and swindlers, however, sat a figure was larger than life. Sitting on a table right next to Hermann Josef Abs, of all people, was a large, stocky man with slicked black hair and a pair of square, horn-rimmed glasses. This was Reginald Maulding, Rab Butler's right-hand man and a rising star in the BPP. He was chatting animatedly to the magnate, his piggish eyes laser-focused on the man. So as I said, Abs, it's a fallacy to support Fontaine. His ideology is entirely based upon anti-growth protectionist nonsense, which would frankly be abysmal for business. Don't you agree? I must say, Herr Maulding, you do seem to be very much in favor of Herr Butler's policies. But is he not perhaps rather old? Maulding chuckled, a low brassy thing, and took another sip of brandy. Well, we all get old, don't we, everyone? He said to the onlookers, who all politely chuckled alongside him. With a twinkle in his eye, Maulding slapped Abs on the back, as if he was an old friend and not one of the most powerful men in Europe. Let's just say that even if Butler is old, well, he has good taste in friends. I'm sure whoever picks whoever he picks will be satisfactory, so to speak. What a charming fellow. They really reworked the lesbian men. I can't get over that. Oh, this finally gives us decisions. Butler and Fontaine stood by each other, each flanking the shoulder of Prime Minister Domville, as he gave another fiery speech about the necessity of unity and how they were the party Britain needed. They smiled placidly, vapidly even, nodding along to their PM. Neither of them could see the other, but they could very well guess what their most gracious ally within the party was thinking. Butler could imagine Fontaine probably getting gelled his hair too much already. It looked more like a helmet than an actual hairpiece. Overeager, as if he would become PM the very moment that the old admiral finally croaked his last bleeding speech about unity. He could almost... he could imagine it all too clearly, even as he saw the comments, politely listening to the man. Fontaine could see Butler in his mind's eyes, the old fat, balding geezer simply standing there with a glazed look. Perfectly content in the assumption that Domville would hand over the BPP to him simply because he followed the man around like some sort of dog. Britain has no need for dogs, however. They need a man. A man like Fontaine. The speech ended. They all both clapped, of course. Perfect uniformity among them smiled around as the cameras took pictures of yet another successful meeting within the Commons. Yes, truly, what a wonderfully united party. Butler and Fontaine shook hands, a firm grip in both as they looked in each other's eyes. No one would notice anything but a nice firm handshake. But Fontaine and Butler could feel the squeeze as they attempted to put their hand over. Fontaine would never back down on this, but Butler was not so willing to hand over even the illusion of power to Fontaine. The act was for the Commons, it was for Domville, it was for the public. But internally, they sharpened their knives, even as they mimicked friendship. For only one can rule. Okay. Hold on. A party of contrast. Interesting. Do we not get a little blurb of this? Okay. Interesting. There could only be one, indeed. So we have the pragmatists and the ideologues. And I'm guessing this is just going to be the battle between the two. Alright, so let's take a look at the four factions we need to wrestle. The peers, the garrison, the corporations, and the party. As appears in the Germans' request, the government reversed reforms made to the House of Lords that curbed their power. Once again, both houses of Westminster are equal, and the peers once again stand as an important pillar for British governance. It's wise for any ambitious leader to carry their support by any means necessary. Next, we have the garrison. Under the command of Richard Wolfe, the German garrison guards in Britain against those who dare challenge the new order. It would do any prime minister well to maintain a positive relationship with the German garrison, lest there be consequences. Then the corporations. The end of the war saw Britain graciously assisted by the German corporations, who now dominate our economy. While they cannot be challenged at the moment, it would do one well if it kept at the corporation's good side. And then finally, the party. Since its formation, the party has always had a brewing battle between the ideological elements and the pragmatists. Some have already chosen their side, but the party's rank and file will simply follow the better man to lead them. Whoever proves himself at that. So no faction is in charge. We have 0% chaos, which represents the general level of chaos in the party due to encroaching and fighting between the factions. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There will be no going back. That's not ominous at all. Especially with the purple. Because I've been long enough to realize what the purple means when it comes down to ominous shit related to Germans in this. It means the funny path. And by funny, I mean blatantly genocidal path. Yeah. Well, we'll have to figure out what this all means exactly next time, won't we? So I'm gonna go ahead and leave it. There. But thanks always for watching, my friends. If you like this video, leave a like. If you dislike it, go ahead and dislike. Leaving comments, feedback down in the comment section below. I read all the comments I get, and I do appreciate any and all feedback you might have for me. Check out my various links down in the description box below. Leave any comments down in the comment section below. And that's really going to be it for now, my friends. I thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.